with no further ado, let's get Lokke on the stage, and also we got Ronnie here. We will start with Lokke and giving her a presentation on the wallets, and then
on the wallets.
Try to have a bit of a panel offer. So, welcome and thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin. Well, I think the wallets will shape our future, but the question is why and how and what is your role in that? And I'm going to give you a bit of an overview why all the focus in Europe is very much on the digital identity. And for that you need a bit of a broader perspective. The buzzword in Europe is tech sovereignty, digital sovereignty. You must have heard about it. And Ursula von der Leyen, she says, look, we are too dependent on foreign providers. We need to shape up and be more independent. Who agrees with Ursula von der Leyen? Who thinks we're too dependent on foreign suppliers? Yeah. Often people say to me, Lokke, but you know, it's true, but is it not already too late to do something about it? Who thinks it's too late? Nobody? Is somebody laughing here? Yeah. Are you afraid of saying anything, or what is it? You think you can turn it around? Yeah, okay, I do too. Actually, I think we're only just starting to think how we're going to turn around. I'm missing some... Oh no, yeah, I'm missing some pictures. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The reason why I think we can turn it around is because we're in a digital revolution, and this is an age powered by artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and whenever you have a transformation or revolution, it brings along a lot of benefits, but also friction. And the laws and the regulators run behind really badly. Remember the first car? There was a guy walking in front of it with a red flag to get people out of the way. Yeah? Think what we did as a society to embed that in our society. We built roads, tunnels, we had traffic lights, traffic rules, we had mandatory brakes, airbags, safety belts. I mean, we had rules for the exhaustion, we had the Dieselgate affair. I mean, over the decades we tried to embed that, and that is what we need to do, start to do now. At that time of the first digital revolution, or industrial revolution, there were winners. Winner takes all. We had the coal barons. We had the Standard Oil. And the first antitrust laws date from that time, and they split them up. I hope it resonates with you what is happening now. To understand how Europe is intending to regulate, you need to understand what the threats are, and I'm going to discuss them with you. First are the cyber threats. Where are we? Internet crime, 70% up, 150% up, ransomware attacks, and we all know that these groups are sponsored and sheltered by states like China and Russia. But for me, the pandemic was a real, yet again, eye-opener. We know, but then we had the pandemic, and then they tried to steal our COVID research. Actually, personally, I understood. It's a race, it is about your own people, you want to cure them. I get it, that you try to steal the vaccine research. But what they, at the same, while they were handling a pandemic, they were trying to completely disrupt the response of Europe, of the member states, of our governments, how to deal with the pandemic here, where we try to keep people safe. That I found difficult to understand. It shows their true intentions. And in Europe we didn't hear about that. And it is undisputable that that is what they were trying to do. Not Biden. He says, look, after the SolarWinds incident and the colonial pipeline, then he said, you know, guess what? If you keep doing this, you will get a shooting war. Second threat, artificial intelligence and quantum computing are new technologies that disrupt in and of themselves. They are not neutral. And the first law of technology is not good, it's not bad, but it's not neutral. It is not neutral. Why is that? With AI, the bad guys can detect vulnerabilities on a large scale, at a large scale, and exploit it automatically. With AI, we can try to defend, to try to find them and solve them. It's a race. It's not neutral. If you don't innovate, you're behind. The same with quantum computing. That will break our current encryption. China is collecting, scraping all data, encrypted or not. The encrypted stuff they store in data centers in the anticipation that with quantum computers they will be able to break it and search it with AI. It's not good, it's not bad, but it is certainly not neutral. Data colonialism. Europe feels the victim of a new form of colonialism where foreign countries and their suppliers try to mine our data. What percentage of data do you think of in Europe, our data, businesses, government, individuals, is currently in the clouds of foreign suppliers? 90%. It's 92%, of which 80% is with 5 suppliers only. If one of them is down, whole sectors are down. It's like whether you click off the light, switch off the light. We would never put the switch of our electricity supply, our power supply, in the hands of one single supplier, especially if they are foreign. But it is more than just supply chain issues. It's also about the data you need for AI. You need a lot of computing power, the cloud, and you need harmonized data. Each and every company in Europe doesn't have enough data to power AI innovation. So you need to group the data in a certain industry sector. But that's difficult if the data of these companies in silos in the current clouds. You can't combine them. We will see that Europe is trying to break through that by interoperability requirements. We'll come back to that in a second. And then we have the tech Cold War. Putin says, well, many more, you know, the country that wins the AI race is the leader of the world. And we're behind. And that's not so surprising if you combine the budgets of the US together with Google, all the others, and China together with Tencent. It's very hard for Europe to match up. And their reaction to this tech Cold War, is that they are going the way of tech protectionism. They have export controls on technology outside of their countries. They make sure their data cannot be transferred outside of China, for instance. Yeah, they keep all the data in China. They have rules about investments by Chinese companies in the US. Recently they implemented Biden a prior check on all investments or building of networks. Any ICT supply is checked for involvement of Chinese suppliers, components. And they retaliate. I hope you see that if we want to keep supplying stuff to the US, our software and products need to have a clean bill of health as well. Do you see it's more and more difficult to serve two masters if they have different sets of rules? So we'll have to choose. But the moment you choose, you become more dependent. Why? Because your multi-vendor choice diminishes. When Huawei was kicked out, prices went up. So the Commission is saying, look, we need to have our own offering, not so much because we want to keep everybody out, but to have a multi-vendor choice. And both realize that data is by now a weapon. It is a weapon. I love this commentator. He's a US former politician in government, and he says, cybersecurity comes down to which side has access to more information about the other and can utilize it best, deploying artificial intelligence. China is scraping anything they can get from social media. Plus, they have the TikTok data and all the other data. And they analyze it, and they load their intelligence services with it and try to, etc., underbid in public procurement, try to put pressure on people to, who remembers that Trump issued a ban on TikTok in the app stores? Yeah, you're laughing, and I had to laugh too. I thought, my goodness, now he's off his rockers. And but the bottom line is that Biden has done exactly the same. And for whatever reason, I think Trump at the time was more in a trade war, but the realization that this data is socio-economic data that can be used for all types of purposes is now sunk in. So, we're behind in innovation, and for a long time Europe thought that that didn't matter too much as long as because we could regulate and protect ourselves by issuing regulation, protecting our values, our human rights. GDPR was the poster child, I think. Complete success. It's called the Brussels effect. We regulate GDPR, and it's true, 130 countries by now have GDPR-style legislation. So we regulate, and then we regulate the world. But we completely underestimated that GDPR may protect individual data, but not our economic ecosystem. The rules are so strict. Actually, it's easier, you need to innovate to comply with it, and it's easier to do for big tech, for instance, than for the startup here. But also, by now it's clear that if you're the referee, you're not going to win the match if you don't innovate yourself. And I'll give you one example. GDPR requires explainable AI. I think I saw one of your contenders for the having to do with explainable AI. Google Brain is the biggest black box AI you can get. And I was in a project, and we were saying, look, we can't use this because it was totally unexplainable. And the results were good, but why or how was a complete question mark. Halfway through the project, the guys in another team came out and said, we found it. I always thought, very naively, that they would improve the AI to make it more visible or that you can see how it would work. How stupid me. They came up with a software layer around it, extracting the explanation. My point here is, can you see that with this innovation they can comply where other small startups will never be able to match that? So, all these developments made a complete U-turn in Europe, where first our market, our research should be open to the world. Our market was open to the world. And now suddenly we see Ursula von der Leyen and her commission saying, look, guess what? We need mastery of our own technologies. We need to cooperate. We need to have our own offering. We need to. And it ends up in a policy where they try to avoid, and this is the most important slide, and I hope you will get it. If you don't, let's discuss. They try to find a third way. They don't want to fall into the tech protectionism, but then it becomes very difficult how to do it. So what they don't want to keep the big tech out. And they don't want to build their own big tech. Why not? If you have issues with big tech, you will have an issue with a big tech Europe. Huh? It's not about reshoring all supply, maybe some critical things like chip production, because we have Taiwan and we're too dependent if China takes over, yeah? So they're isolated topics, but basically this is not what it is about. It is about open infrastructure, in the sense that you can work, the clouds become interoperable, so you can scale up in capacity in a horizontal way instead of a vertical way. Yeah, that is what Gaia X is about. It's about the interoperability standards, the architecture, the access management, how you do that across various clouds. It's about open data. That data can be reused for innovation, far more than till now was thinkable. This is the European data spaces, where you bring together data in a sector to use it for innovation. It's about the Data Governance Act. Public data, even if it's protected by GDPR confidentiality, opening up for innovation. It's about open source. Why? So we can innovate together, maybe matching the budgets of certain of the big tech. It's about federated solutions. For privacy reasons, the EID. And the whole idea, is to flip the current ecosystem. The current ecosystem is, you have a company, you use an IT supplier, and they actually benefit from the data that is the company's, and they want to give back the control. It's about data sovereignty. Your ability to decide what you do and how you do that. And that is cross sectors. It's a very difficult picture, and I still put it on because this is what it is about. This is my energy data. And I want an additional finance for getting, I don't know, solar panels, and I want offers. This will be a new data exchange model, what they are currently building. So Europe is not only issuing rules, they're putting the money up to build new infrastructure. A data exchange, it's like you have a telco subscription, but then on the data exchange, yeah? And here you have the consent dashboard where you need identifiers. There in between is the EID, because otherwise it will never work. It's crucial in a many-to-many market. It means if I'm on Facebook, I can go to Google Plus and still communicate with my friends on Facebook. It means I'm on Telegram and I actually can app to somebody on WhatsApp. It is about having an identity, shopping on Zalando, not having to create a whole account. And if I order something, I just give my details for my address just for the one-time delivery. And people say then to me, Lokke, but this is so, you're cutting in business models, you can't do that, it's freedom of business. And the answer is, this is public infrastructure, how people communicate. We have interoperability protocols and everything for anything to do with infrastructure for as long as we can remember. For water, for roads, for rail, for water, for electricity, telco. If I have a KPN subscription, I can call somebody with Ziggo. Why on earth wouldn't it apply to WhatsApp? And we don't have interoperability for identity, for cloud. Well, this is what we by now rely on. I don't know whether you know Ben Thompson. He's a leading tech analyst. I love him. And I love this picture. I put some other things on top of it, but I nicked it from him. Basically, he said the Internet 1.0 was all about technology. It was completely interoperable. We could email with everybody. You could visit. It was open, decentralized. Then we went to 2.0, Internet 2.0, and it was about the economics. They wanted walled gardens. Why? To be able to analyze it, use it for an advertising model. And he says, guess what? Internet 3.0 will be open and it will be the politics, the regulators saying, guess what? We go back to decentralized. Like you can have payments around the world, you can have, yeah? So, e-identity. cornerstone element here of that. And the concern was that we had so many replications of my accounts with that, data going everywhere, too much data being outdated, being lost, etc. So they're going to move with an e-identity based on wallets. And I assume you all know what it is. Basically, instead of giving your whole identity, you can use an attribute in your wallet. For instance, have 18 plus, so you can visit a certain website anonymously, but they still know you're 18 plus and not a child. So the main thing is to get acceptance and a kind of network effect. They say it's mandatory to accept for big platforms and any financial institution that needs a high level of user authentication. And you cannot combine the data, other data, with that EID. And then people say, oh, what a bummer. Now I can't do anything with it. And the truth is, and that's what people are missing, it is a new intermediary function, breaking up the monopoly of the big platforms. You can at least have a point of contact. You remain relevant. You can ask for permission. Yeah? It will be disruptive, far more than Apple Pay. So, why is it so important? This is the picture, is on purpose very small and whatever. This is all the new regulation coming up, and they all depend on EID. Yeah? So, I want to wrap up, because the current landscape, and that is you, I assume, is completely scattered. You all think you got the winner. And it is about artificial distinctions. It is about public having different solutions than private. It is a business solution. Since when does KPN, they have a subscription model that is different, but the telephone line and the numbers are the same. Why on earth would you have a different infrastructure? Netherlands and every country in Europe needs to provide its own solution. And our new Secretary of State for Digital wants to have a solution, as an example, in Europe before the end of the year. Quite challenging, so she will need to take an existing one. But then she is looking at how we can combine the offerings we do have. And you must have heard of Ideal. And what I like about Ideal is, I'll show you the picture. It's an ecosystem. So it is protocols, everybody needs to comply, but beneath that, there's the different solutions. I can choose my own bank instead of the PayPal, the whatever. Because we did this in the Netherlands, Ideal is what most people pay with. Germany was too late, and that is where PayPal is used as the default solution. So to get the required scale and network effect, it helps to work together. And that is why my proposal is not to have one product for a Dutch and one winner, but to go and look for the ecosystem with a protocol, but one brand, so you can go all out with mass communication, that is what no single point of failure, far more choice and innovation, and a network effect for our Dutch system. It means that you all need to step over yourself and go and join the working groups that are now set up to discuss the protocols. Because all solutions will have to be adapted, but also the good thing is nobody has sunk cost because they developed something that is not relevant. I think you need to take a bigger picture here and don't think just for yourself, but more from the perspective of the Netherlands. And Martin, and maybe you would like to, yeah, here. That's what I said. It's on the slide. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for giving us this walkthrough of the new ecosystems. So we have a few minutes for questions, but I thought that perhaps Ronnie, do you want to make any comments or observations?
So one comment would be that what we're doing at the moment is going for a harmonized model, not a federated model. As I said, this is about like your bank card. A bank card is a bank card is a bank card, and an ATM is an ATM is an ATM. So it will work independent of where identity is coming from or who's asking for it. It's going to be as transparent as that. And also, one thing to keep in mind on this regulation is that it requires the states to provide this to all citizens and residents. So it's not only going to be bank customers, it's going to be everybody. It's going to be refugees, it's going to be other transitory elements also. So exactly how the states are going to solve this, I don't know, but they have to solve it. That's one of the things that they are required to do under this regulation. So that will be my basic comments.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.